Namaste. Welcome. Welcome back to Tyldwick Tarot. And today's episode, I'm also going to do some practice readings, demo readings, and I thought I would adjust the intention for today's reading to be a reading for the collective for the spring equinox. And I also want to thank Jonathan last week for his contribution. So he has requested a question that might work really well with this deck. So hopefully we'll get to that as well. So namaste. I hope you're enjoying this study of this amazing body of work by Neil and later by his brother Joe Lovell. It is really, really quite something. And we're going to start just by talking about these 4 cards, and then we'll get into a couple of readings for today. We have, in some way or other, discussed most of the cards in the deck, and I know that we have looked at some of these already, but I would like to revisit and just give these ones a little bit more time and just a few reflections. And yeah, so this is the Tower card, and I wonder if I should turn this overhead light off. Lighting is always such a funny thing with this deck, you know, you just have to get it just right. And I also want to apologize. One of you pointed out that I had a card upside down. I don't know what week it was, and I was talking away about it, and ooh, that's a little better. So if I do have cards upside down, it is it may or may not be intentional. I don't tend to read with reversals, and when I'm certainly previewing a deck, it didn't mean for the card to be upside down. So let's get to the Tower. This is a really quite an interesting Tower card, and one of the things that intrigues me are the masks. And if you look on the sides of the painting, it's almost as if, I don't know if these are shelves with masks or these masks are, they could be painted, they could be hung to the wall. But there's something very haunting about masks, mysterious, primordial. The idea of mask as a metaphor is so very potent. And I know we all, through our lives, different times, different places, we wear masks for empowerment, much like the shaman. We wear masks for protection. We wear masks because that is who we are supposed to be. That is how we think others want us to be. There are so many reasons for donning a mask, and you might also call that a hat, a persona. And with my work, my own sacred work, my own great work with the tarot, one of the greatest places where this seems to come into play is that transition from your present world back to your home of origin, going back to your hometown, going back to your mother's house, going back to the town where you grew up, perhaps even reconnecting with friends from school. And there seems to be this shifting of gears, this shifting of voice and mask and vocabulary and persona. And if you are doing this work, I hope that you are endeavoring to minimize any drastic shifts in voice and character, and when you go from one place to another. I think the more you work with the tarot, the more you do this kind of self-study, the more you finally get to a place where you realize it's exhausting putting these hats on and off. And while it might be, and I think of, coming out of the tarot closet, let's use that as an example. sharing your spiritual gifts with the world, removing yourself from a situation where you no longer feel that you can pretend to be. This card takes on whole new meanings. And yes, this is a card of homes that burn in fire. It's a card of earthquakes. It's a card of divorce. It's a card of loss of all kinds. But it's also a card of empowerment and discovery of who you really are. And finally letting that mask fall and deciding no longer to wear it and to be your true self. Now there's something quite poignant here in the compass in this card, almost as if this compass is pointing to the next card. This compass is pointing to your true north. It's pointing to your great work. Hi, Clevis. And thanks, Tamara, for coming back as a member. It's lovely to have you back. So I think there's something kind of special here. And yes, of course, we can bring in the mythology of the Tower of Babel. And there's quite a bit of revisionist thinking in regards to that. And if you only know one version of that story, that myth, that epic from the Bible, and it's one that you connect with deeply, you may want to, one thing that I'm thinking of right now is the way that we find ourselves in foreign lands, unable to communicate, unfamiliar with cultural experiences, and yet we have placed ourselves there. And it is incredibly challenging. But at the same time, it's as equally stimulating. And, this is a really, I'm surprised this card is, I shouldn't be surprised. This card is one of discussion today because this is a very important card for Aries season, because Emperor Aries ruled by Mars, and in the Golden Dawn system, this is the Mars card. First decan of Aries is also Mars. And I did a reading today in Tarot Foundations too at the beginning, and I sort of painted this landscape, this martial landscape at the beginning of spring, and I'm thinking that the energy and the effort that is required to till the earth with spades, with shovels, picks, garden hose, heavy machinery, is quite a violent act upon the earth. And in order to stimulate new growth and to bring on the new garden and the lusciousness of all that will become abundant in the summer, we have to take quite a powerful action early in the spring. So I just invite you to think about that and how we can do that authentically, how we can move and do that. Because the other piece of this is this card shows up, I think, when we are ready to let those things go. And I think that fits also in beautifully with one of the questions I want to talk about today. So just a few thoughts on this card. And is there an eye in the center of that compass? I'm just looking at it now. When I was looking at the screen, it looked like there was some sort of an eye there. And I love the way that when I look at this deck on the screen, when I look at it on the desk, different lights, I see different things. The card next to it is the star, and we do see the Star of David up here in the rock work. And we have a fountain. And this is a beautiful alignment in this deck. We, I believe last week we talked, I don't know if it was last week, we talked about the wheel. And there's something, a beautiful alignment between these two cards. These two cards show flowing water. And I think really we can keep that kind of simple. And while perhaps the wheel will always have aspects of Jupiter for me, and I think of Judgment as a very fiery card, the idea of the flow of water feels important. Oh, sorry, this is not Judgment. This is the Star. Oh, it'd be so perfect if it was the Star. Okay, so this, if it would be so perfect if it were Judgment. This is the Star. This is the Aquarius card, air card. Okay, these cards, these two cards are linked through the flow of water. So let me go back. Let me go back. Why did I say the things I said? I don't know. But I am going to talk about Judgment in a little bit, and it definitely fits into a different pattern. So what I am saying here is that the wheel card has some connection to the Star card. The movement of water and the movement of water. Water as a part of the process of rebirth. If you think of the 10, the movement through 10, through this particular change, this ending, there's a cleansing, a purification. Water is an important part of that process, and we see that water in the Star card. Now, we see water in most Star cards. We see a maiden pouring or returning water back to the earth. In the Waite-Smith deck, it looks like she's in a bit of an oasis. And I see this serene, lush garden here, a bit like that as well too. And so when I see these cards and I contemplate this flow of water, it's a healthy, it shows movement. It shows movement forward. And a very natural way of moving forward, unlike the tower. This is just the way that water moves. And not only does it cleanse, but it heals. And change is not necessarily a bad thing, even though we may fear it or it might feel ominous at the time. I think it is something we need to face bravely. Now, what I was saying when I was talking about this, the Tower card, was that I liked sort of the precursor to the Star card as the compass, pointing to the star. And then we have these two cards that are connected by water. And yes, there is a Star of David and a fountain. And there is water flowing in this wheel, which makes this a very unique wheel card. Now, the Judgment does not have water, the Judgment card. This is the Judgment card. It actually reminds me a little bit of the Magician, which I did pull out here. Do you remember the Magician card with the stage on it? And on the Judgment card, we have the Jack in the boxes, or the doll in the box, or and for me, that is quite a I've never liked that toy, honestly, even though it can be quite charming, and there's some beautiful ones that, handcrafted ones that are really beautiful, but that surprise, that emergence of that doll from the box is always shocking. Now, this card is it's a real sort of mix of imagery, and it feels a bit overwhelming on one side and then overly light on the other. I mean, Jack in the Boxes, together with those paintings, the tapestries on the card as well, feels like an odd combination. When I look at the Judgment card on the screen, it's almost as if I see where there is the angel blowing the horn. When I look at that from a distance, I see almost like a face in a mirror. And I don't know about this card. There's a few cards in the deck where we are looking at various objects on a table, and I really need to stretch myself to work with that particular card. And perhaps something will emerge, and I will find my way with this card, but it's a bit odd. You know, I love me a good Judgment card where I see metamorphosis, or maybe a bit of an initiation of sorts. And here we see souls being, I believe, let me read the words of the creator from the book. I'm not sure if it's in the tapestry above or above. The angel is a flat panel showing the damned being led into hell. Above it is a tapestry of the vintage, the harvest of good souls. So we have a contrast of the damned and the good souls, in which the blessed make up the wine of divine vintage. This is a card of awakening. It's a card of transition. And honestly, I don't feel that this is another card that isn't as surprising or shocking as the Tower, because I feel like, but you know, the amount of energy that we have put into getting to this place, we're aware that we might be on some sort of a precipice. And when the Judgment card comes up, yes, we might hesitate. I think it's a really good question when this card arises to say, is this the right time? There's a window, a door, an opportunity being made here. Am I ready? Am I prepared? Because I know once I cross this path, there's really no going back. And I think we have a nice segue to that in the World card. Now, when you look at this card, you can see the dance of Shiva, and that is in the center of the dogwoods. And this is, I believe, Shiva as Nataraj. And this fire dance of Shiva, or Shiva, is one that is also an ending. It is the power of destruction in order to know rebirth. And we see the dogwood, which is also a symbol of death and rebirth, in a very light, almost spring setting. We see familiar symbols on this card as well, too, from other decks. What is new, different, are the prisms that are on the desk. I think they're described as Pythagorean solids on the desk. And what I am going to read into this is just the notion of connection. Regardless of what we do or what decisions we make, there are these natural webs and ley lines and powers that exist in the universe. They vibrate, they stimulate, they help us to move through. And I think I just had this other, I've been looking at alchemical symbols today because I was talking about them earlier. And you know, the symbol for what's it called? You know, in Harry Potter, when they have the Elder Wand and the cloak, and their that symbol that has the triangle and the circle and the symbol of infinite life, of immortality. Well, if you superimpose these three shapes upon each other, you get some sort of powerful energy here. And I think there's a lot going on in this card, and perhaps you might need to break things down in a reading. The portal of the world card, sometimes we need to, again, pause and celebrate and honor the retirement, the graduation, the place where we are now. It's just not a matter of quickly teleporting through to the next stage of life. So what this deck seems to offer is aspects of deep spiritual connection, but is somehow also, it also reminds us that we're here. And this tangible world that we are in is very real. And again, it is also equally mysterious. Those jack-in-the-boxes may become the prismatics, the solids on this desk here. If you read Tarot de Marseille style, where you're taking something from one card to another card, and in a way, the title bar on the world card looks as if it's a brass plate on this chest, and like it's a trophy or something. It's a box of memories or something. I think there's a lot of details we can work with in this card. So I'm going to put these cards, these majors, back into the deck. And I'm going to shuffle, and do a reading for the spring equinox. So here we are at this place of the change of seasons, a place where spring has emerged. It is emerging for some people in the Northern Hemisphere, maybe not for others. This is a time of change, while it is also a time of balance. And I think in using this energy and what I was saying about the Tower card and the Tower and Mars being somehow connected to Aries energy and the beginning of spring and the physical effort that is required to begin the season, I just want to build that all together. So I'm going to read to you what I typed below, and I'm just going to put this up here as a prompt. Okay. All right. In this question, what am I ready to release? We have a look at what is holding us back. So as we come into this new season, the beginning of this new zodiacal year, there are tremendous opportunities for growth and development. The indication here, the suggestion here is that there is some work required in order to make that happen. When I listen to querents, they may not use the word stuck. I'm sort of paraphrasing some notes that I have below. But there's a simultaneous comfort and discomfort with being stuck, with a status quo. Almost as if we know we're ready for a change, but it's almost easier not to change. So let's use this inquiry to create or to receive a message for this change of season, a reading for the collective regarding letting go, regarding perhaps some of the action and martial energy that is being asked of us at this time of change as we step into this new season. Understanding that the seasons change on their own without us, and yet if we somehow embrace change itself and put some effort and energy into it, maybe we have an opportunity to make things happen a little faster. Hello, Amanda. Namaste. Arya, namaste. All right. This is a reading for the collective on the 20th day of March, 2024. Helping us to understand our growth, our new life, the potential for greater harmony through this change of season. As always, we ask these messages be in the highest, for the greatest good, and that no harm be done. So be it. I'm just going to cut the cards once and pull out a few of them. Ooh, we have a Wands card, which is kind of great. Soldiering forward. Soldiering forward. One of the things that strikes me in this card is the amount of space. And I don't know if it was Amanda, one of you talked about the curtain that's here, almost as if this is some sort of a show. And I don't know if this is the opening act or the closing act. Is it the end? Is this where the soldiers are about to take their final bow? Is this a ballet? Is it the Nutcracker Suite? But the stage is quite plain, isn't it? There's a lot of space there. So here we are at 7 of Fire, the magical number of 7. The magical number of 7. Maybe this is also to remind us that in this great wide world, we are small. However, our actions do matter. I am going to pull some other cards, but I feel like there's something here really good to grasp. So I wonder if part of what we need to release is that more of a defeatist attitude. Well, what does it matter? What do my actions matter? I'm just such a tiny cog in the wheel. So I'm going to say, no. You continue to stand tall, to own your beliefs, to know that, yes, you are a dust speck in this universe. but your movements, your actions, and I think actions are really important at this interval, are going to shape and open and awaken, of course, things for you, but for all of those as well, too, around you. Another 7. Another 7. And these cards were well shuffled. They weren't sorted. And then we have kind of a perfect card for equinox. This is the Justice card. So we have 2 7s. 2 7s and Justice. 7 of fire, 7 of pentacles. Is that about enjoying the process? Not there's no rush to get this done. There's no hour. There's different steps and stages to tilling the earth, to preparing the garden. It doesn't all have to be done this weekend. It can happen in steps. And I think sometimes when we take things in stages and we enjoy the process, we can make better decisions about what the next step might be. Has there been a conflict? Has there been a within you? Has there been a conflict between, let's just get this done. Let's get on with this, as opposed, and then another part of you saying, oh, this is dragging on forever. I'm so ready to get out of this. And so you turn and, you go back to Netflix and a bottle of wine and just kind of say, forget it. It doesn't matter anyway what I do. When I look at this card as a third card, I think, well, maybe maybe we've forgotten that we are responsible for our actions. We are not our actions, but of course we're responsible for our actions, but we do have a role to play in our unfolding. There certainly is a bigger picture, but every step and every ripple and every action that we make does make a difference. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror and check in. Are you acting for the right reasons? I wonder if, I'm looking at all those little soldiers there, I'm wondering if there are some friends, there's a team that you can call upon to help get this going. So if you've been wondering if you can make a difference, if you and I'm just healing, I'm hearing, not healing, I'm hearing this question over and over, like, do I matter? Does it even matter? Does it even matter? And I think the answer here is yes. The Justice card is here because it does matter. We all need to understand that our actions are part of our unfolding karmas, the way that this stage of our individual experiences is unfolding. Yes, it's both. It's both big picture and our actions are really important. So take time to observe them and enjoy the process. And the bit about what do I need to release? Well, the bit you need to release is that you do make a difference. So let go of any notion that what you do isn't going to change anything. The Justice card is the mirror card of the season we are presently moving into. So justice awakens, Golden Dawn, wise speaking, the autumnal equinox. And so maybe this also points forward to a bit of a 6-month process of something like that. Maybe that's what the taking your time is about. Be careful, the details do matter. Okay, well, I hope that resonates with some of you. Now, what I would like to do from here is I'm going to shuffle the cards again, and I want to explore this deck through a request from Jonathan. And that was under last week's video. So I just need to go back to there and just copy and paste it. I had asked, and I think so I think this is still a question that I want to ask. So this is from Jonathan, this particular question, Jonathan Daly. What sort of questions let this deck shine? And I think from the example of the last reading, we can, and also the comments I was making about how in many of the cards we have this interesting dichotomy between odd objects and quite mystical and spiritual objects. So maybe this deck does have more of a range than I originally anticipated. Let's go to Arya's comment before we get into the next reading. Yes, the actions do matter. Stay the course. And can I add to that and say that it's okay to carve out this space for your action, what it is that you need at this time in order to know this new harmony, this energy that spring is bringing. I think sometimes we need to remind ourselves that, it's okay to have a bit of martial energy coming through. That's how things get done. All right. So the second reading is a demo reading. And I can actually point this towards Jonathan, and I may use Jonathan's name in the reading as this was his inquiry. But this is mainly an exercise in seeing how the Tyldwick Tarot responds to questions and different ways we can work with it. So here we go on this 20th day of March. Let this beautiful tarot shine light on this inquiry by Jonathan, helping us to deepen our understanding of the possibilities of working with the Tyldwick. How does the situation help my soul's growth? Ten of Coins. Look at the lattice. Look at the shape of the lattice just from a distance. What do you see in that shape? What does that look like to you? I know it's a little, I'll make it bigger later, but I'm just particularly, because I see something different when I look at the card and then when I look at the camera. Let me slide it over here for you. I guess what I'm asking is the two barrels that block part of that lattice shape create the lower part of the tree of life, Yesod and Malkut, if we're going to look at this as a tree of life shape. And perhaps if those two barrels weren't there, we wouldn't see that. But I think there's something in these two barrels. It's almost as if these two barrels anchor something down here. They're like the two pillars. They give us a left, they give us a right. How does this situation help my soul's growth? And Cleva sees a double helix. I would say that this situation anchors. It gives weight. It gives gravity to all that you are doing. I think it acknowledges and recognizes an accumulation of your energy and your resources. The Ten of Pentacles is a card to, it's a card of cards. And the mask is in Da. Now, isn't that interesting considering what I said about masks earlier and the Tower? It also, to me, it looks like it is, it could be like, you know, the ghost of Christmas past, or I can hear a deep baritone voice saying, Jonathan, this is your life. Almost like this is a card that's saying, do you remember there, oh my, you're all probably too young. There was a TV show, I think it was called This Is Your Life. And the people from your past would come onto the show, and they might have been on the other side of a screen or something, and you would have to try to figure out who they were. I can't remember what that was. Anyway, yeah, Jonathan, or whoever this is for, I feel like this is it's like a great card. Ha 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 ha. Let's pause and look at your life. Let's look at your connections and honor your connections. And so whatever the situation is, maybe it's kind of challenging because that's why you're asking this question. There's something about it that's going to help you understand your DNA, to understand your connections, why you're here. Let's pull two more cards. Queen of Staves. Now I'm thinking there's going to be a great party. Like a great garden party. Oh, then we have this document with the bugs and the Seven of Swords. Okay, so it's definitely going to reveal something. This situation is presenting itself because something is ready to be revealed. Like this situation is going to eventually connect the dots for you. Now, what is the Queen of Staves doing there? I think she is empowering you. They are empowering you to, through this situation, to continue to live life. And I don't know why I was thinking about a party, but maybe those are our wine barrels in the center card. To be bold, to be brave, to dance, to sing, to lead, to live life. Don't let this situation hold you back from that. It's here. It's almost like if you were to anthropomorphize this situation. It's like this situation has presented itself so that it's a bridge. It's a builder of connections. Oh, this is a really interesting comment. Barrels are for aging. They are. I like that observation. So don't go into hiding. Be fully present through this. Know that it almost is taking on a life of its own. Are those barrels being offered? I think it's interesting how I'm reading this more to Jonathan, but I think this is it's a great combination of cards to let us see the possibilities of this deck. Right? They turn grapes to wine. They turn hops to beer or whatever. They make something richer, more full-bodied, more palatable. So again, perhaps this is, we don't have a major arcana here, but I'm sensing a bit of endurance is required through this. And I think the queen has lots of energy, this particular queen. So hold on to that. Now, I know it's interesting because Jonathan, in tropical Western astrology, his sun is in Virgo. And we were in a workshop recently, and he expressed that he's learned that with real sky astrology, his sun is in Leo. And I think about the energy of the Queen of Wands and their fiery nature, and maybe that in a way is an empowerment for Jonathan. These are such great observations. So what I would do is just sort of maybe write down these comments that Clevis is making and see if you can apply them to your situation. And if there's anybody else where these cards seem to be talking, let us know and come back and leave something in the comments later. Okay? All right. So I'm not quite ready to leave the Tyldwick Tarot. And I think what I will do next week is just have an open reading. And I will do my best, and we can support each other in that process. And it'll be a small group, just like it is every week, and we can do some readings for those people in the group. So please come next week with a question in mind, and I will shuffle and draw some cards for you. Okay? And then I will need this week to sort of advertise what the next deck is going to be for the deep dive series. And so what I might do is go through my Marseille inspired decks and choose one of those, or maybe another one that was just on the list. And this will be the day where it's not Marseille. So we'll see. If you have any requests, please let me know. Okay. Thank you all so much. Take good care, and I'll see some of you soon. Namaste.